Chapter 2. Whispers in the Dark. The inside of the Yerevan temple was a cathedral of alien geometry, its architecture defying logic and comprehension. Jagged spires stretched upwards, twisting into unnatural shapes. Faint, bioluminescent veins ran along the walls, casting an eerie glow that did little to pierce the oppressive darkness. Captain Yara Nock stepped cautiously into the main hall, her weapon raised. Behind her, Kale's glowing cybernetic eyes scanned the room, feeding data into his neural interface. The rest of the team followed closely. Vex with his massive blade drawn, Ryla moving like a shadow, and two Dominion grunts who gripped their rifles with white-knuckled tension. The whisper came again.
"Help me."
It was faint, like a memory slipping through cracks in their minds. Yara froze mid-step, holding up a hand to signal silence. She tilted her head, straining to listen. "Captain," Keel whispered, his voice barely audible.
"That's not a broadcast. It's direct."
"Direct?"
she hissed back. Kal nodded, his brow furrowing.
"It's feeding straight into our comm channels, but there's no identifiable source. Whatever it is, it's in here with us."
The team exchanged uneasy glances. Vex snorted, his mandibles twitching in irritation.
"If something wants to talk to us, let it show its damn face."
Ryla stepped forward, her hand brushing against the temple wall. Her fingers recoiled instantly.
"The walls,
She muttered.
they're warm. Like they're alive."
Kale ran a gloved hand along the surface, his neural implants analyzing the texture.
It's some kind of organic composite. No known material matches its properties. It's almost as if the temple grew itself.
"Enough chatter.
Yara snapped.
Keep moving. We stick to the mission."
The group pressed deeper into the temple. The corridors were impossibly long, twisting and splitting off into smaller passages. The bioluminescent veins grew brighter the further they went, casting strange shadows that danced along the walls. Ryla took point, her sharp eyes scanning every corner. She whispered to Kale as they walked.
"Do you feel it? Like something's watching us?"
Kale nodded grimly.
I've felt it since we landed. Whatever's here, it knows we're intruding.
The team reached a massive antechamber, its walls inscribed with Uravan runes. In the center stood an enormous obelisk, its surface rippling with a dark, liquid-like substance. The air was thick with static, a low hum vibrating through the chamber.
"What is this place?"
Yara murmured, stepping closer to the obelisk. Kale's implants flared as he analyzed the structure.
This is the source of the signal. It's emitting some kind of energy field. I can't make sense of it. It's like it's rewriting itself in real time.
As Kale spoke, the liquid on the obelisk's surface began to shift. The hum grew louder, resonating in their bones. A shape formed within the liquid. A face. It was humanoid but distorted, its features elongated and its eyes glowing with an unnatural light.
"Help me."
The voice came again, clearer this time, emanating from the obelisk. The team tensed, weapons raised. Yara stepped forward cautiously.
"Who are you?
She demanded.
What happened to the Uravan Order?"
The face twisted, its expression contorting into something that resembled anguish.
"We are what remains, bound to this place, consumed by the veil."
"The Veil?"
Ryla repeated, her voice shaky.
"The veil is hunger.
The face rasped.
It devours light, life, thought. It is why they are gone."
Yara's jaw tightened.
"Are you saying the Uravan created this? That they unleashed it?"
The face flickered, the liquid rippling violently.
"No, they discovered it, a fragment of the void. It was never meant to be found."
Suddenly the chamber trembled. The obelisk began to pulse, its glow intensifying. The team backed away, weapons trained on the structure.
What's happening?
Kale shouted, his voice barely audible over the rising hum. The face on the obelisk shifted, its expression turning to one of terror.
It knows you are here. It comes.
The hum escalated into a deafening roar. The walls of the chamber began to move, the organic veins pulsing like arteries. Shapes emerged from the shadows, shifting, fluid figures that defied logic, their forms constantly morphing.
Open fire.
Yara commanded. The team unleashed a hail of bullets and plasma bolts, but the figures absorbed the attacks without slowing. One of the Dominion grunts screamed as a shadowy tendril lashed out, piercing his chest. His body convulsed before collapsing, lifeless.
Fall back.
Yara shouted. They retreated down the corridor, the shadow creatures pursuing them. The temple seemed to shift around them, the walls closing in and the passageways warping. Kale glanced over his shoulder, his implants feeding him real-time data.
They're not physical. They're energy-based. We can't kill them with conventional weapons.
Then how the hell do we stop them?
Vex growled, swinging his blade at one of the creatures. The strike passed through, harmlessly. Ryla skidded to a halt, her eyes darting to the glowing veins along the walls.
The temple, it's alive, right? What if we can use it against them?
Yara hesitated for only a moment before nodding.
Do it.
Ryla tore a small device from her pack, a pulse generator. She attached it to the nearest wall and activated it. The device emitted a high-pitched whine before releasing a burst of energy. The glowing veins flickered, and the creatures recoiled, their forms destabilizing.
It's working!
Ryla shouted.
Then keep moving.
Yara ordered.
We need to get out of this damn temple.
The team sprinted through the twisting corridors, Ryla planting pulse generators as they went. Each burst of energy caused the creatures to falter, buying them precious seconds. They finally burst out of the temple's entrance, the harsh wind of Noxium's surface hitting them like a wave. The creatures stopped at the threshold, their forms writhing in frustration before retreating into the darkness. The team collapsed onto the ground, their breaths ragged. Kale was the first to speak.
What the hell was that?
Yara sat up, her face pale but determined.
The veil. Whatever it is, it's tied to this planet. And if it consumed the Uravan, it can consume us too.
Ryla looked back at the temple, her expression grim.
We barely made it out alive. If we go back in...
We don't have a choice.
Yara interrupted.
That obelisk holds the key to understanding the veil. If we don't figure out how to stop it, this thing could spread beyond Noxium. The entire galaxy could be at risk.
The team exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of her words sinking in. Kale's implants flickered, and he frowned.
The signal's still active. The obelisk is calling to us.
Yara stood, her resolve hardening.
Then we go back in. But next time we'll be ready.
This was the end of Chapter 2 of the Black Veil of Aephyros. The story will continue in Chapter 3.